There is one rule in infantry warfare that supersedes all others. It is older than the rifle, older than the sword, older than the spear. It is the rule of trust. You do not trust your government. You do not trust your officers. You do not trust the weather, the terrain, or the intelligence report. But you must, with absolute religious certainty, trust your weapon. When you pull the trigger, the hammer must fall. The primer must ignite. The bullet must fly. For the North Vietnamese Army in the late 1960s, this trust was built on a foundation of steel and would known as the AK-47. By 1968, the Kalashnikov is already a legend. It is the most resilient piece of engineering on the battlefield. You can drag it through the swamp, bury it in the mud, leave it in the rain for a week, and when you pick it up, it will fire. It is the great equalizer. It allows a peasant conscript to outgun a trained professional. The North Vietnamese soldier believes in his cause, but he believes in his rifle even more. It is his protector. It is his lifeline. It is the one thing in a chaotic world that will not betray him. The American military command knows this. They know they cannot match the enemy's numbers. They know they cannot break the enemy's will through bombing alone. So, they decide to do something darker. Something forbidden. They decide to break the rule. They decide to turn the enemy's greatest strength into a source of paralyzing terror. They decide to make the simple act of pulling a trigger a game of Russian roulette. For decades, the world believed that ammunition was binary, it either worked or it jammed. But in 1967, a small, shadowy group of elite operators deep in the jungles of Southeast Asia proved that there was a third option. The option where your rifle doesn't just jam. It detonates in your face. And the moment that happens, the war changes. Because you can fight an enemy you can see. You can fight an enemy you can hear. But how do you fight a war when your own gun wants to kill you? Enter John Plaster. To understand the insanity of what is about to happen, you have to understand the men tasked with doing it. John Plaster is a member of MACVSOG, the Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observations Group. Do not let the boring academic name fool you. Studies and Observations is a cover. A lie. These men are the tip of the spear. They are the Green Berets of the Green Berets. They operate across the fence, a euphemism for illegal, top-secret missions inside Laos and Cambodia, where the United States is officially not fighting. Plaster is young, heavily muscled, and carries a truncated RPD machine gun. He operates in a world where there is no air support, no medevac, and no backup. If he is killed, his government will deny he ever existed. If he is captured, he will never be seen again. By 1967, the war is in a deadlock. The Ho Chi Minh Trail, the massive logistical artery running through Laos and Cambodia, is pumping supplies into South Vietnam. Trucks, bicycles, and porters are moving millions of rounds of ammunition south. The U.S. Air Force bombs the trail daily, turning the jungle into a moonscape, but the ants keep marching. The ammo keeps flowing. General William Westmoreland needs a new solution. He needs to rot the enemy from the inside out. The idea comes from the CIA, but the execution falls to SOG. The code name is Project Eldest Son. The premise is terrifyingly simple. The North Vietnamese and Viet Cong rely heavily on ammunition manufactured in China, specifically the 7.62 by 39 mm round used in the AK-47 and the RPD machine gun. The plan? Steal the enemy's ammo. Take it apart. Replace the slow-burning gunpowder with a high-explosive substitute that looks exactly the same but burns 5 times faster. Reassemble the cartridge. And then, and this is the hard part, put it back. This isn't just sabotage. This is psychological warfare of the highest order. The explosive they choose is a specialized, fast-burning powder. When the firing pin hits the primer of a sabotaged round, the pressure inside the chamber doesn't rise to the standard 45,000 pounds per square inch. It spikes instantly to over 250,000 psi. Physics takes over. The steel of the receiver cannot hold it. The bolt assumes the velocity of a frag grenade. The receiver cover peels back like a banana skin. The explosion drives metal fragments backward, directly into the face, eyes, and brain of the shooter. It is instant, catastrophic failure. But for John Plaster and the SOG teams, the chemistry is the easy part. The hard part is delivery. Because you can't just drop these rounds from a plane. To make the paranoia take root, these bullets have to be found in the enemy's own pristine, sealed ammunition crates. They have to be planted by hand, deep in enemy territory without leaving a trace. John Plaster isn't just a soldier anymore. He is a ghost. And he is about to play the deadliest practical joke in military history. Imagine you are John Plaster. It is late 1968. You are sitting on the skid of a slick, a UH-1 Huey helicopter, flying nap of the earth at 100 knots. The trees are blurring beneath your boots. The air is thick, humid, and smells of rotting vegetation and aviation fuel. You are crossing the border into Laos. You have just left the safety of the known world. You are carrying a CAR-15 carbine, a sawed-off grenade launcher, and a rucksack weighing 80 pounds. But the most dangerous thing you are carrying isn't your weapon. It's a small, nondescript canvas pouch. Inside are a handful of 7.62mm cartridges. They look dirty, scratched, ordinary, but they are poison. The helicopter flares, hovering just inches above the elephant grass. You and your team of indigenous mercenaries, montagnards, jump out. The bird lifts off instantly, the sound of its rotors fading into the distance. Silence rushes back in. The jungle is deafeningly quiet. You are now in Indian country. The NVA owns this land. There are battalions of them within a few miles of you. They find you, you die. You move. Slow. Deliberate. You don't walk, you flow through the brush. You are hunting for a cache. Intel suggests a way station nearby. A rest stop for the porters moving supplies down the trail. You smell the smoke of a cooking fire before you see it. You signal the team to halt. You crawl forward, belly in the mud, inches at a time. Through the foliage you see them. 3 NVA soldiers. They are relaxed, smoking, their weapons leaning against a stack of wooden crates. Those crates are your target. You have 2 options. You can kill them. A suppressed burst, a knife in the dark. But bodies raise alarms. Bodies mean the enemy knows you were here. If they know you were here, they will check the supplies. They will find the tampered rounds. The mission fails. No. You have to be a ghost. You have to wait. Hours pass. The sun begins to set. The insects start their nightly scream. Finally, the soldiers move off to a bunker for the night, leaving the stack of crates unguarded for just a moment. This is it. You signal your point man. You move into the clearing. You are exposed. Every instinct in your body is screaming that there is a sniper watching, a tripwire you missed, a dog about to bark. You reach the crates. They are Chinese markings. Green wood. You pry the lid of the top crate open. It's packed with paper-wrapped bundles of ammunition. You don't take the whole box. That would be noticed. You take one bundle out. You tear the paper slightly, just like a soldier might if he was checking the goods. You take out a clip of 10 rounds. You slip the sabotaged round into the clip. Not at the top, that's too obvious. You put it 3rd or 4th in the stack. Buried. Hidden. Then you put the clip back. You close the paper. You close the crate. You scuff the dust to hide your footprints. You melt back into the jungle. The trap is set. Now fast forward 3 weeks. A firefight in the Central Highlands. A squad of Viet Cong is engaging a U.S. Marine platoon. The air is filled with the snap hiss of bullets. A young Viet Cong soldier, maybe 18 years old, is prone behind a rice paddy dike. He is terrified, but he is determined. He levels his AK-47 at the American line. He has fired this weapon 1,000 times. He trusts it more than he trusts his own father. He pulls the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. The 3rd round chambers. The firing pin strikes the primer. Boom. It is not the sharp crack of a rifle shot. It is a dull, violent thud like a hammer hitting a melon. The receiver cover of the AK-47 shears off and flies backward at 300 feet per second. The bolt carrier group disintegrates. Shards of jagged steel rip through the soldier's cheekbone, destroying his right eye and lodging in his frontal lobe. He drops the weapon. He screams, clutching his face, blood pouring through his fingers. His comrades stop firing. They stare at him. They look at his gun. It is a smoking, twisted wreck. The metal has blossomed outward like a flower. There was no American grenade. No mortar shell. No sniper. His gun just blew up. Confusion. Panic. The squad leader grabs the weapon. He looks at it. He checks the magazine. It's the same ammo they have been using for months. The same ammo that came from the crates in Laos. A week later, 50 miles away, it happens again. A heavy machine gunner opens up on a special forces camp. 3 seconds into the burst, the breech of his RPD explodes, killing him instantly and blinding his assistant gunner. Reports start to trickle up the chain of command. Defective ammunition. Sabotage. Bad manufacturing. But it's not just the rifles. Toji starts spiking mortar rounds too. Imagine a mortar team dropping a shell into the tube. They expect the thump of the launch. Instead, the high explosive charge detonates inside the tube. The mortar crew is vaporized. The tube is shredded. The North Vietnamese commanders are baffled. They inspect their stocks. They find nothing wrong. They test fire random batches. They work perfectly. Why? Because SOG is careful. They are planting only one bad round in every few thousand. The odds of finding one during an inspection are mathematically zero. The odds of finding one during a firefight are low, but high enough to be terrifying. And this is where the brilliance of Project Eldest Son truly lies. If you find this kind of hidden history and tactical genius as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of covert ops and strategic deception deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. The brilliance is that SOG doesn't just plant the ammo. They plant the doubt. John Plaster and his team begin leaving evidence alongside the bodies of enemy soldiers. Forged documents. Fake letters. They create a fake document from the Heavy Weapons Command of the Viet Cong. The document warns soldiers that the People's Republic of China has been shipping second-rate, defective ammunition to Vietnam due to political tensions. They slip these papers into the pockets of dead couriers. They leave them in abandoned command posts. The North Vietnamese intelligence officers find these papers. They read them. They look at the reports of exploding guns. They look at the dead soldiers with bolts embedded in their skulls. And they begin to believe the lie. The ripple effect is immediate and devastating. It travels faster than any bullet. In Hanoi, the High Command is in a crisis. They can no longer trust their primary supplier of arms. Radio intercepts picked up by the NSA show NVA commanders screaming at their logistics officers, refusing to accept ammo shipments with certain lot numbers. Entire battalions are ordered to stand down and inspect every single round of ammunition. Do you know how long it takes to inspect 1 million rounds of 7.62? It takes weeks. Weeks where those soldiers are not fighting. Weeks where the pressure on American troops is relieved. But the psychological toll on the individual soldier is even worse. Think about the Viet Cong soldier in the trench. He hears the rumors. He saw what happened to Nguyen last week. He holds his AK-47. He looks at the copper casing of the bullet. It looks fine. But is it? Is this the one? When the Americans attack, does he fire aggressively? Does he hold the trigger down for a full auto burst? Or does he hesitate? Does he fire single shots, flinching every time he pulls the trigger, waiting for the explosion? That hesitation, that split second of fear, is enough to get him killed. SOG estimates that for every one gun they blew up, they neutralized 100 others through fear alone. The US military even broadcasts black radio transmissions, fake radio stations pretending to be fellow communist units, warning about the treacherous Chinese ammunition. The distrust between the North Vietnamese and their Chinese allies deepens. The NVA starts requesting Russian-made ammo instead, creating a logistical nightmare for the communist bloc. And what about the Americans? What was the cost? John Plaster and the men of SOG walked a razor's edge. Carrying that ammo was like carrying a radioactive isotope. If a SOG team was captured with the sabotaged rounds, the NVA would know the game was rigged. They would know it wasn't Chinese incompetence. It was American sabotage. The orders were clear. If you are about to be overrun, you destroy the special ammo first. You die before you let them find the trick. In 1969, the program was leaked to the US press. The New York Times ran a story. The secrecy was broken. The Pentagon was forced to shut down Project Eldest Son. But the damage was already done. The seed of doubt had grown into a forest of paranoia. Even years later, NVA soldiers would treat their own ammunition with suspicion. The rule of Act 1, the absolute trust in the weapon, was broken forever. Major John Plaster survived his time across the fence. He served 3 one-year tours with SOG. He came home with the kind of stories that sound like fiction to anyone who wasn't there. But many of the men he served with did not. SOG teams suffered a casualty rate exceeding 100%, meaning statistically, every man in the unit was wounded or killed at least once. They were the men who went where the maps were blank. They fought a secret war with secret weapons, using the enemy's own logistics against them. Project Eldest Son remains one of the most successful psychological operations in the history of warfare. It cost pennies on the dollar compared to a bombing run. It didn't destroy a bridge or a building. It destroyed the enemy's mind. It proved that sometimes the most effective weapon isn't a bigger bomb. It's a tiny pinch of powder placed in the right spot by a man with nerves of steel. Today, if you visit a military museum in Hanoi, you will see rows of AK-47s. They stand silent, rusted, history locked in their steel. But if you look closely, you might wonder, is there a round in that magazine sitting quietly waiting for a trigger pull that will never come? A round that was touched 50 years ago by the hand of a ghost? These stories of tactical ingenuity and the men like John Plaster who executed them are fading. We are losing the voices of the Vietnam generation every single day. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm that this piece of history is worth remembering. We are dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served in Vietnam. Thank you for ensuring that Major John Plaster and the quiet professionals of MACVSOG do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.